It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. And a cat's rubbing up against my foot. It's Mr. Scout, who was really mad earlier. There's the Scouty. Really mad that you were locked up in a room all day, eh, Scout? Did not like that at all. I kept saying, oh, don't talk about it? Okay. Part one of part two of refinishing the hardwood floors has been going on. And that means we lose access to a portion of the house. It's sort of the kitchen is the hinge point, and so all the upper floors were done, and now the lower floors are being done. And the cats actually handled being in a basement and furniture stacked everywhere downstairs better than we did. This is easier on us, but the cats are hating it, and I don't know if it's the just because it's the second time and they're like, oh, you gotta be kidding me, or if it's because they're cooped up and we're not in there with them because I had to finish Lady Bits. So Loki got lots of attention today, but yeah, I'm still, by the way, working on this setup. Yeah, there's junk. You can see all the painting stuff. My hands have paint all over it, and then you see Salacious Crumb's feet, and then I kept repositioning the camera so the Spectre's groin wasn't just in the shot. It's just like that was just wrong. But the feet are kind of creepy with Salacious Crumb there. So still working on it, and there's not enough light. I tried to get a light going here, but it's just way too harsh. It's the wrong color. So I'll have to see if I can put like a gel on that or something. Working it out. But it is your feedback for the week. And I apologize that Witcher video was abbreviated. It was all lead up. A lot of people still seem to like it, which is awesome, but there was a lot I wanted to say. And I did mess up. I knew it sounded wrong. You know, one of those things that this sounds wrong, but you don't know why it's wrong. It wasn't the hair that changes color with Witcher. It's the eyes. But still, it's sort of a Northern Kingdoms thing. And someone in the comments pointed out that making Ciri look different than Geralt does completely mess up the whole Child of Prophecy deal with her. But the thing I wanted to get into was I've talked about this a lot in my other shows about the unique cultural touchstones of Poland that The Witcher deals with, and that trying to make it diverse by North American standards, it really imagine they did like imagine they made Mulan only with white people, or they told the Hunchback of Notre Dame but no one was French, or suddenly there's this American guy in the middle of. There are certain things that are cultural exports of a particular culture, and as a few people in the comments said, that if you treat things as interchangeable and not good enough gotta be black or not good enough gotta be Asian, then it sends the message that their culture and their experiences don't matter. And because of the realities of living under communism, that's a very sore point for people in Eastern Europe. I do think it's really quite myopic, I guess the word is, to take a story of people who didn't get to vote for their government until the 1990s and go, we have to make this more socially relevant by making it more diverse. And the problem with Hollywood is there's all these deals with the devil you have to make to get your stuff made, that I'm terrible at that game. The characters are the characters, and certain ones you go like, okay, this is a colorblind role. I don't care what race this person is. And then they want to change the gender of a critical character. And it's like, if I wanted a character to be a guy, I'd make it a guy. And, I wrote this story about 4 girls, and the development guy wanted me to change it, one girl to a gay man. It's not the same thing at all. It's a completely different story at that point. It happens a lot. And unfortunately, if you want your stuff made, you have to make those compromises. I still think this one goes too far. And one of the things I was going to say is if you have to change a main character, the way I would do it, since characters have been sort of added as it's gone along, just create a new character, or make the have the Scoia'tael played by Native Americans or something like that. They're supposed to be they're an analogy for the gypsies. Apparently the dwarves are the Jews. I actually in Poland, I actually looked this up because I thought the Scoia'tael were absolutely the Jews in Poland who, World War II kind of got rid of that. But it's not. The elves, the Scoia'tael are the gypsies, and the dwarves were the Jewish people. Like, wow, that's really interesting. I always like Zoltan. But, Zoltan wasn't used a lot in the games. I was sort of disappointed about that. There are all these cool Zerrikanian characters, and even in the TV show they did in Poland, they had Zerrikanian characters. There's no reason they couldn't have a Zerrikanian character added to the main cast and have a character that's non-white and totally central to the plot. But if they insist on one of the main four of Triss, Yennefer, Geralt, Geralt and Ciri being diverse casting, my thought is they've already changed Triss's appearance once, so there's no reason not to make Triss a character of color, since she's a brunette in the books and with visible scars, and then she's like this redhead with this perfect body, which annoyed me. It's like, don't make the redheaded character annoy me because you missed the point of who she was in the books. But I quite frankly, I'd put Triss back to the way she was in the books, because quite frankly, I actually think it's a better metaphor. I think Yennefer's perfect in the games. But there are plenty of other characters they could bring in and not mess with the character that's supposed to look like Geralt because she's destined to be his child. It's a visual metaphor, and visual metaphors are so like the lifeblood of the Witcher books. Everybody's scars matter. Everybody's physical descriptions matter. It's like Andrzej Sapkowski took what George R.R. Martin did in Game of Thrones, which just wrote these extensive character descriptions, and it told you less about the character than it did the world. He was really trying to pound home that this was an ugly world, and he wanted to make it more like historical medievalism instead of romantic medievalism. Wow, the TV show did not go in that direction at all, completely foiled his plans, but he likes money, so he's good with it. Whereas The Witcher, people's scars and the way they felt about them were critical character points. And I remember this description of this piggish trader who had these two Zerrikanian mercenaries, and they were both women, and they were scarred all over the place, but they wore their scars with pride, as opposed to Triss, who, when she gets a scar, she's like, oh, I won't be wearing low-cut dresses anymore. It tells you something about the various characters, and everybody has scars, and that's a metaphor for how various waves of both Nazi and Soviet occupation it scarred a people, and they weren't allowed to show their scars. They weren't allowed to talk about the horrors they suffered under communism until they got their own government, until they threw out the Russians and got self-rule. And the fact that Poland is going through this wave of populism right now, you'd think that a story that is, literally an analogy for people, you know, um, first oppressed by the Nazis and then oppressed by, fascist communism, you'd think that'd be enough feel good. Like, how is that story not relevant enough that you need to change, you need to interchange one of these characters? And somebody in the comments said that fungibility is becoming a major issue with Hollywood casting, and it absolutely is. And as someone who's written colorblind roles, I completely vouch for colorblind roles, but they actually have to be written as colorblind roles. They can't be something that it was important they looked a certain way and then you just swap it out for something else. That's always been super frustrating to me because the creator created that character that way for a reason. And sure, it may be short-sighted, but Game of Thrones is a huge hit and you don't see them forcing in diversity. I mean, the first season you had Drogo, Jason Momoa's character, that was written as that, so it made sense. But they don't just start, throwing in black people all over the place in Game of Thrones. So why they didn't do it with the Lord of the Rings the movie? They did it in the musical, and instead of making like all the hobbits Asian or all the humans black, which would have made sense if you cast diverse and made like all the men of Rohan black guys, and keep the racial lines consistent for the racial lines within Lord of the Rings, people would have been able to follow who's who. Oh, that's a human, he's a black guy, right? That's not what they did. They just made Boromir black, or I don't remember, there's one like Chinese hobbit or something like that, and everybody, were super liberal Toronto hipster audience. You heard people afterwards go, I didn't get that. Arwen was played by a mixed race woman, gorgeous voice, but I wish, if that's your prima donna, cast all the elves to look like her, the way all Betazoids sound like Marina Sirtis, because she was the one they cast and everything went along with her. That's the way to do it, because that way makes sense. And it just makes me think that not only do these adaptations not respect the source material, diversity is something they have to do. It's like a tax, instead of figuring out a way to make it work that makes sense. And I think that I don't think they're casting the best people for critical female roles in that regard, because it's never the white male lead that gets changed, right? It's always something else. And so it's like, oh well, she's black, so we'll hire her. But then she, like, look at the Flash and Iris West. They don't give her anything to do. Joe West is great because that actor is fabulous, but I really think the actress that plays Iris has a lot more in her. She doesn't get to do anything because it's just diverse cast. We're done, right? Moving on from that, the Telltale stuff. Just another one of these comment sections where people sort of added their own stuff and their own opinions, basically about how the quality of the Walking Dead games just fell off a cliff after that first arc. I don't completely agree. I think the 400th day was god awful, and that was the problem. That was really bad. And so a lot of people, myself included, waited for season 2 to find out if it was any good. And then I found out they killed Omid really early, and I was like, oh, because I loved Omid. He was like one of my favorite like side characters, like secondary characters in the first season of Walking Dead. But The Walking Dead in general, the comics had this problem. The TV show, in my opinion, has this problem. It is very hard to sustain because it's just bleak, 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 bleak. They haven't figured out how to really work in leavening moments. And so the stories do just degrade over time because there's no dynamics to the storytelling. It isn't that there's no moments of joy. And I find it, first of all, incredibly hard to take. It's depressing television. I have a friend who loves it because she's like, this isn't real world bad, this is fake world bad, and I prefer that. I accept that answer. But life cannot be just bleak, bleak, bleak. Even in the worst of times, there's moments of joy. And that's why good music comes from people who have been through bad crap. You know, they find a way to make happy. And I think that some of these Hollywood types, because they're so invested in their own self-made problems, they don't understand that for a regular person, you need the light moments that I just don't find The Walking Dead balance as well. And I think that's why the stories degrade. So yes, good observation that the stories have never been good. One person in comments called, never been as good as that first season. One person called season 1 like the thriller of the series, that you can never top that. Now we're getting into music again, and now we're getting into Michael Jackson, and now it's like, well, is that a fair comparison? Because there really wasn't anything before The Walking Dead season 1. I think it's more, well, not even that. It's like an artist who has a great first album, as opposed to Michael Jackson had this whole like child career with the Jackson 5, and then Off the Wall was his first solo album, which was a disco record. Thriller was like his second. So it was like his empire. And like it was like boom. But he continued to do, I mean, Bad was a good album in its own way. Smooth Criminal, I think, is the best music video he ever did. But he did continue to innovate, even if he never got that lightning in a bottle again. There's got to be another, you guys will tell me, another artist that had a great first album and could never follow that up. And you can't even say Adele, because 21 was her second album. It was just the first one that hit. Let me know if you can think of a better metaphor for that, because I get the thought. It's just not quite. I'm very picky about my music metaphors. Can you tell? Somebody asked me in the comments of that video what I thought of the Bowsette meme, which is this like, the thing I really like about it is it's just freaking random. It's like this female Bowser with this little like pink mushroom crown, and it's become this fan art thing. I think it's hilarious. And you know, people were like, hey, you did this before it was a thing, with my boobser from Lady Bits. And other people like, she doesn't have the crown, so it's not Bowsette. It's like, oh boy, somebody's very literal. But I think it's really cute. I think, like many of these memes, it will get kind of old surprisingly quickly, just because there is so much of it. But I think it's cute. I like it. And that's pretty much it for the feedback. So there's really only 2 videos. It has been a week. I have had not much free time. But I have to fix one thing and then re-output, and Lady Bits episode 12 is finished. So that will be out next Wednesday. Yay. It is unbelievable how much time in advance I left for that thing. And it still took, like, I judged it correctly how much longer it would take this month, but it will be done on time. 12 for 12. Yeah. Out. And I did that episode 0 too, so it's like 13 for 13. And it's funny, I know it's been exactly a year, because the Halloween lights I used for the set are back in stores now. So I know it's exactly a year since I started airing these things. But not bad, eh? Sweeped it. No major delays. None. Cool. And I hope you like it. I think it's a good show. It builds on the stuff so far. I'll put out a few previews just to let you guys see some of the stuff that's coming. Yeah, I think it's a good final ep for the season. And I'll be very interested to know what you guys think of it. Hello, Loki. Hi, Loki's in here. Loki's not afraid of the floor anymore. How you doing, buds? Yeah. Should I pick up Loki? Are you guys bored? Oh no. Loki said no. Rejected. Okay. So, do you guys have any other things you want me to talk about? The Witcher thing and the blanking now. The Telltale thing were both stories that you guys contacted me about and asked me about. And I love it when you guys do that, because if you're interested in it, the likelihood is somebody else is, and it makes it easier to kind of decide. I've deliberately been avoiding the US politics stuff going on right now. Are you interested in my take on that, or would you rather just get a break about it and we'll keep talking about video games? Because I am very good to just keep talking about video games, just because that's just ugly. It's gotten so ugly that I don't think you can live in that. It's impossible to avoid. So you notice I haven't really been doing anything politics, current events lately, just because, ugh. Right? But let me know. I'm not sure. I want to ask you guys if you're legitimately interested in my take on what's going on in broad terms, not like gossipy or anything like that. I'll do a video for sure. But I'm happy sticking to games with that stuff. I prefer talking about games. Games are fun. I like fun. Fun is fun. So let me know. By all means, keep sending me your requests for stories. I can't turn them around as fast as I usually do because everything is chaos. And yeah, again, I'm still trying to get this lighting fixed. Ooh, Halloween lighting. Push notification on my iPad. Ooh, doing that flashlight under the face thing. Trailer Park Boys did that in one episode. It was the funniest thing, as far as I'm concerned, they've ever done on that show. But I'm just rambling right now. Everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy the good weather. Lady Bits episode 12 next week. Let's get excited. I just hit myself in the headphone and it hurt. I'm weird. Okay, thanks for watching.